Hello, welcome back. Another live stream, beginning of the week, and we're going straight into running adventures. And I thought I would discuss keys and the use of keys in dungeons for those of you who are interested. You see before you Puzzle Encounters by Wally DM, his journal. You also see the Halls of Undermountain, where there are a lot of keys, actually, as it happens. And then we have the Pathfinder Game Mastery book. And hey, this has got, I wouldn't say a lot of information on keys, but when it comes to dungeons and laying them out, it's certainly better than some of the books that I've seen out there. I'm going to put up a poll. Feel free to take part in that poll. Grab some food, some drink. I'm going to make this presentation as quick as I can so that I can get it under 8 minutes. That way, when it gets edited down, people don't have to tolerate the constant mid-roll ads. I know that sounds strange, but hey, I've got to do it some way. Anyway, let's go into the topic. I'm sure everybody has lots of things they need to say about keys. How's it going, Fred Huber? Nice to have you. Anyway, let's get straight into the topic for today. Where are we? Oh. Okay, that should be good. Okay, cool. Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about why use anything to do with a key. Why use a key in a dungeon? Why include keys in your dungeons for your adventures? Well, there's a lot of different reasons as it happens. So when we ask the question why dungeons actually have keys in the adventures, what we're asking is a lot of different questions because it's a tool. Like anything in the game, it's a tool. It's not a superfluous concept. It's actually very important. So the purpose of including keys in a dungeon is actually to restrict the player character's access to specific areas for a period of time. Not forever, just for a period of time. So smashing a lock or a container that has a lock risks the damaging the contents of that container. So not every lock should be smashed, and that's why you want to have a key. Using a lockpick to open a lock doesn't always work, so you will need a key. The knock spell or spells that open locks might not always be effective. Again, you need a key. Treasure vaults and treasure chests include locks that need keys to. Now, why are they doing that? They're trying to stop the player characters, but really it's about slowing the player characters down before they claim their new treasure. A key to a locked door stops the player characters from accessing, for a short period of time, an area that currently is too difficult for them to complete. Like, if you have a key to a locked door, it is there to stop the player characters for a short period of time so that they can't access an area that is currently too difficult for them to complete. It's actually one of the most important aspects of a key. Finding a key for a lock is a very, very simple puzzle that can be included into any dungeon environment. And when people say, I don't include puzzles in my game, if you have a key to a door or to a lock, you have just included a puzzle. It's just the simplest type of puzzle there is. Sometimes the key has value of its own because it's made of precious metals or gems. Including keys ensures that progress in the dungeon always has a possibility if all the other strategies that the player characters employ don't work. If a player character wants to take a different route through that dungeon, a key to a locked door can provide this opportunity. Sometimes a key doesn't look like a key. Like if you look at it and you think, okay, that's not a key. What is that? I don't know what it is. It's more of a puzzle that needs to be solved so that you engage the player's brain. For those people who like that sort of thing, that's why you would have a different type of key. A key that doesn't look like a key, but in fact is a key. Keys are not always complete. They might be found in multiple parts. You have to collect them together to open the door or lock that you're going to use it in. And in some cases, a key turned in a lock will make something happen or reveal a secret to a door or a secret somewhere else in a different part of your dungeon. Even a player finding a key doesn't guarantee that they can open that door or that lock, because keyholes might not always be obvious. You might not find it very easily. You might have to search. Ultimately, a key in a dungeon forces the player characters to explore every inch of the location so that they don't miss anything, so that they get everything that is there that they could claim if they want it. And that is why you use a key in your game or in your dungeon. Now, I'm hoping this was useful to you, and if it was, fantastic. I want to thank my patrons who support me on Patreon. I want to thank you for watching and listening. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Okay, let's go over and we'll talk briefly about keys. If I've missed anything about keys, you'll let me know, I'm sure. If it hasn't been obvious, I've been very hard trying to make sure that I don't say too much. And if I was speaking too quickly, sorry. But it's become more and more obvious to me that I have to, if I'm making edited videos, I have to make them shorter than eight minutes. So I've got to throw a lot of information in there very, very quickly. What I would like to do is share in the chat with you a website to an article that talks about the use of keys in a dungeon and why or why not you might not use them, but ultimately what the purpose of the key is and sort of a bit more information around them. A lot of the information that I've taken today has come from there, but not everything. I have included a lot of other stuff that's really distinctively what came out of my brain. Okay, so I'm going to include that link as well. Fred Huber, early D&D there was no thief class, which got renamed the rogue, but it's still a thief. Picking locks was hazardous since it often set off a trap avoided by using the key. That's actually very true. If you had the key, you didn't have to worry about the trap. Whereas picking a lock, there's always the risk of setting off a trap. That's if you found the trap in the first place. So that's actually a very, very good point. I had kind of missed that. I know I'd made a mental note that I needed to mention it, but when I put these things together, sometimes I do it at sort of at last minute, or I forget some. I think of something a week ago or 2 weeks ago or a couple of days ago, and then I forget to put it down into my notes, which is why you guys are here. That's why you're here, Fred, to make sure I don't miss anything, right? Okay, let me share this link with you because there is a really useful link that I should put in here. Okay, I think I got it. I just got to get this and plonk it into the chat. Hopefully, can I just copy it like that straight from the HTML? Yes, probably. Should be able to do that. Okay, let's put that in now. Paste. Did it work? Did it work? I hope so. Okay, so I've given you the link to the article that I was pulling a lot of ideas from. About half of what I've said today came from there. The other half is just me doing my thing. And I've been wanting to talk about keys and dungeons for a while, and I actually, would you believe it, I wrote some notes on what I would say about keys while I was sitting under a tree at the beach one day. This is probably 2 years ago, maybe not quite so long, maybe even be longer actually, it might even be longer than that. And I lost the notes for it because back then I was writing things on a scrappy piece of paper. And that scrappy piece of paper just disappeared, of course, because it gets lost amongst all the other scrappy bits of paper because I didn't type everything up into Google Docs. Thankfully, nowadays, I'm pretty good about making sure everything goes into Google Docs, but I'm not very good about forgetting that I've actually written something in Google Docs about something. So I haven't alleviated all my problems. Anyways, let's talk about keys. One of the really interesting things about keys is you can have a magical key. Now, I didn't mention this, I didn't suggest that they could have value in themselves, but I was suggesting monetary value, such as precious metals like gold and silver, platinum, gems being attached or embedded into them. But they can also have a magical feature to them. One of the most interesting keys, I think, is the key that can open pretty much any door. Like, it's the skeleton key. When somebody says, "Oh, I've got this key and it can open any lock," that's got a lot of value. What is more interesting too is there is a very common magic item, and it's basically got a percentage chance to open any lock. So there's no guarantee. It's a magical key. You can slip it into any. It'll change shape. It'll fit any keyhole whatsoever. But the difference between this key and other magical keys is it's not absolute. It won't always open something. But there is a chance, a small chance, that it will. It is, I guess, the reforming key, you might say. So it is one of those items which you could drop into a dungeon and would be particularly useful to somebody who is playing this game. I just wanted to mention that. If you were ever interested in trying to do something like that, but you didn't want to have a key which was absolutely always going to open every single lock they ever find, then you've got a key that can do something like this. I guess another thing to consider too is when you have a key, I know it's very tempting, and I did not mention this, it's very tempting for a game master or a dungeon master to add keys that are red herrings and have no purpose. Now, there might be a good reason for having that there. You might have a good narrative story reason for including a key that actually has no purpose whatsoever in this dungeon. It actually belongs to something else completely. But from personal experience as a game master and as a player, one of the problems with including a key into a dungeon or any location actually that isn't related to that area is it's confusing for the players. They always assume that when they find a key, it's a key for something in that location. And when they can't use that key on all the locks they've tried, they get very frustrated. Now, this might simply be because, the keyhole is very hard to find, and, it's the key would open a lock. They just have to find the keyhole. But I'm not talking about that kind of key. I'm not talking about a key where you include it into your dungeon or location, and that key is useful. It is for that area. It's just the keyhole is hard to find. I'm not talking about that key. I'm talking about the red herring key, the key that has nothing related to that area. Be very careful about using something like that. One, you will find that it will waste a lot of your time as a game master as the players try desperately to figure out what is it they've missed, but they haven't missed anything. It will also, once they realize that the key is really not capable of doing anything and it just sitting in this area for no particular reason, which of course you won't be able to communicate without literally telling them, all you're going to achieve is to piss them off. So can I make it clear? It is probably not a good idea. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. It is probably not a good idea to include a key that is a red herring. Do you know what I mean? Or worse, to include a key that opens a lock and the key is in the container for that on the same lock. So if you've got a lock for a chest or a drawer or something like that, and the key to actually opening that lock or drawer or chest is in, and the key's actually inside there, that's another really big problem. Don't do that sort of thing. Okay, one, narratively, it doesn't really make an awful lot of sense to do something like that. You might say, well, that's the spare key. The additional key is on one of the guards. They just needed to search the guards to find the right key, and then they would have found, oh, there's an extra key in here. It doesn't matter. All you're doing is annoying your player characters. All you're doing actually is annoying your players, not the player. The characters don't care. They're not real. The characters aren't real, but the players are. Never leave a key behind. It's useful somewhere. Well, yes, I suppose that could be the case, but again, and I agree that picking up every key you can is always a good idea. Okay, I absolutely agree. But including keys that don't actually open things in the location that you're exploring, it's not a really good idea. How many keys to things you no longer have are stashed in a junky drawer? Well, that's true, but you don't have to duplicate real life with keys in a Dungeons and Dragons game or a dungeon or in Pathfinder or Shadow Dark. Don't duplicate reality with keys, okay? Because you've got to understand that a key is a mechanism. If you try to make it like, oh, there's just this place, oh, you find a room and it's just the floor is covered in keys, like that is just going to drive you nuts as the players try every single key and every single lock wherever they go. Okay, having a keychain with 100 different keys hanging off it, so that they have to go through every single key to see if it's the one that opens this lock, and if it isn't, you know, they go through 100 keys on a keychain, and that doesn't actually open the lock in the area. Like, they're going to be like, what's the deal with this? Are you just trolling us? I mean, really, it's a trolling technique for a game master. It's a bad move. I'm not saying that trolling your players is not a bad thing to do all the time. It depends on what players are doing. But ultimately, you know, a huge bunch of keys that never opens anything, or a room full of keys all over the floor, it's just going to cause some serious confusion. Anyway, let's get on to actually doing something today. I was going to do just a little bit of work, not a lot. The reason being is that I'm actually finding it harder and harder to actually cope doing these live streams. 2 hours is too much for me nowadays, just with the hay fever, and I can't sort of deal with it. For those of you who are wondering what's wrong with my lip and my chin, I cut myself shaving twice. I wasn't intending to do that, but it did. It happened. So yeah, hence you can see I've got a little bit of an injury. Anyway, so where am I? I'm going to grab some water. We're going to jump over to the right page so that we can do this. You have to go? No problems, Fred. Thank you for being here. Yeah, as I said, it depends on what your player characters are doing. But I don't recommend doing it just for the sake of trolling your players. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's not a good move. It isn't a good move. No matter how you might see it, it's not a good move. Anyway, so we did a little while ago, we started making a table of 100 dungeon rooms. Now, the problem with having a list of dungeon rooms, as you might already be aware of, is that when you include a list of dungeon rooms, just a word alone is not enough. You actually you need a lot more than just that, because there's still a lot of additional work that you need to do as a game master when you have something like that, right? You still have to actually create something. And what are you trying to create? You're trying to create description. So you need to know a little bit about what that room is. And so instead of you having to go through and research on Google and figure out what every room, a basic description for every single room, really, a game master book or a game mastery book or a dungeon master book should really have that information there already for you. I find it quite frustrating. So, for example, and they all do this. So this book here, a very good book, and it has locations on it for absolutely. But one of the biggest problems with this book, just like all the books that I've come across so far, is they don't do all the work for you. What is the point of having a book that is supposed to help you if it's not doing all the work for you? So if I can I find what I'm looking for? Creating worlds, advanced locations. Okay, I think it is under 138 of this page. So under 138. Now, I'm going to say it right now. This is better than the Pathfinder's Game Mastery Guide for 2nd Ed Edition. This is 1st Ed Edition. The 2nd Ed Edition one is even more useless to you. It is rather depressing to think that a second time round they can't do a better job than they did the first time round. maybe they just simply had to get better writers to actually do this, or maybe they had a different goal in mind. I don't know. Frankly, I don't think they knew what they were doing. But anyway, let me just see if I can find the tables, adventures, elements. Here we go. I think I'm into the area here. So dungeon rooms. Now, on page 179, this page right here, it's table 7-4, dungeon rooms. 50 dungeon rooms. But it's just the name. There's no description. There's no explanation about what it is, how it works, what you would find in there. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's a lot of information to put in there, Fred. Well, that's why they don't have that there. And I will say right now, rubbish. Rubbish. You can't tell me that in a sentence you cannot describe a location. Maybe it's difficult to do with just 2 or 3 words, but with a whole sentence you cannot describe a location to somebody in a broad brushstroke as to what the heck that damn thing does. Now, you might say, what about AD&D, Fred? Well, in fact, AD&D suffers from the same problem. And I know why. It's because space. They consider this information not to be that important. And therefore, they don't include it. Now, if we go to something like the Dungeon Master Guide for 5e, and we go, now if I can find where is this section? No, that's traps. Here we go. Dungeon chambers. So they have here, again, this is not necessarily 100 different rooms. That's not the important thing. But again, they do the same problem. General dungeon chambers. General dungeon chambers. Here it is. That's it. And it's just a word. There's no other explanation. So every game master guide, every dungeon master guide does this sort of thing. That is frustrating because as a game master, what you need to do next is you need to go through and you actually have to figure out what these are. Now, unless you've done a lot of research, you're into history, you may never have done that sort of thing. You may not be aware of all those different things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through today and start the process. Since we now have a list of 100, I do have 100 different rooms that you can put into a dungeon. We need to then explain to people what the heck that thing is and what you would find there, because that is what you generally would require as a game master or dungeon master, correct? You'll let me know if I'm on the wrong track here, but that's what I'm going to do today. That is my task. And I'll come back to this every time we do dungeons, and I'll continue a little bit more until it is finished. Because I know, just like myself, you're probably frustrated by the fact that you still always have to find a little bit more that you have to do that they haven't done for you, that they could have done, but they didn't do it. Anyway, dungeon rooms. So we made that list. We've got a whole lot of different things. Some of this stuff would be related to a dungeon. Some things might be related to something else. We actually have a list that's more than 100 items. So we've got a little bit more than that. Things that you might find. And so now it's really about starting at the very beginning and then going through each one. Now this is probably not going to be that exciting for you, but I'm gonna ask you a question. Those of you in chat who are interested in taking part, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to find the description for everything and I'll put them in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you what you think you would find in an antechamber. Hashtag. What would you find in an antechamber? Now, if you don't know what an antechamber is, that's all right, because I'm going to get you the definition in a second. There we go. There we go. Let's do this. The antechamber. Now, for those of you who don't know, antechambers are usually connected to some sort of tomb or dungeon or location like that, and that's part of that complex. The antechamber is very indicative to the Egyptian tomb, not the pyramid. I would like to remind you that a pyramid is not a tomb, even though modern archaeology would tell you otherwise. It's a load of bollocks. They've never found a sarcophagus or a body in any of those damn things. So they are on the wrong track with that one. And if they were going to find bodies in there, even treasure, even the treasure hunters aren't going to take the body with them. Seriously. Anyway, let's go into antechamber. Antechamber. Define. Here we go. A small room leading to a main room. That is the only thing that they've got here on Google as part of the dictionary. Okay. A chamber or room that serves as a waiting room and entrance to a larger room or apartment. The antechamber. Okay, so let's grab here. And we'll go here like so. And we just need to build in enough information around it for you. So antechamber. Paste. A chamber. A room. I don't think we need to say chamber again, so let's get rid of chamber. A room that serves as a waiting room. Entrance to a larger room. Or apartment. Now, with regards to the antechamber, I believe antechamber, entrance, hall, foyer, lobby, hall, vestibule. So there's a couple of different things. That's really just another name for that. So we can go here, hall, entrance, hall. No, we'll go foyer, hall, lobby. And we'll include that here. Room that serves as a waiting room, entrance to a larger room, entrance. Really, it's entrance. It's really entrance. So let's just get rid of this. Entrance. And put this in here. Foyer, hall, lobby, or vestibule. Or vestibule. Okay. I see nobody's got any ideas, so that's fine. We'll keep going. But if you needed to know exactly what it was, that's what it is. Okay, next, let's go with an art gallery. Now, most of you know exactly what an art gallery is, so this is not really a difficult one to put in, right? We can do that. Whoops, we can do that without too much trouble. So let's go into here and go art gallery. Art gallery. Well, I've got art gallery define. Oops, let's separate that. That might help. Okay, that's better. A room or building for displaying or selling works of art. So it's basically this. Hello, Nacho Man. Animated objects. Yes, you could find those sort of things, but that's really up to you as a game master. That's not necessarily what antechamber will normally find in it. So I would say, but you might find some things in there. Like if it's a waiting room, an entrance, a foyer, there's a number of different things that can potentially be found there. Yep. So, contains, and let's give you a little bit of a list. It might be statues, pot plants, pot plants. You might have a chairs, because it's a waiting room, right? Chairs. What else might you have in a waiting room like this, since it's an antechamber? You might have candlesticks. It's probably going to be a place where you might have a visitor log or visitor book. Visitor book. You know what I'm talking about when I say visitor book. It's also potentially a place where you would have a rug. Now, the reason I say rugs is because, you know, if you think back, it was hard to keep a place warm, and so the first place, you might even have a mat for cleaning off your feet. Okay, rug, mats, rugs, mats, and potentially, if it's a waiting room, there might be a desk. You could certainly have a desk in a location like this. So there's a bunch of ideas. So you've said animated objects. Any of these things could be animated. But yeah, let's narrow down what do we actually find there. Paintings. Wall paintings. They might be actually on the wall, or they might be hanging on the wall. So when I say on the wall, as in they might be actually painted onto the wall, so they're physically there like the Egyptians used to do, or they might be a painting that's put into a frame and then hung on the wall. So you could have it a couple of different ways. So there is your antechamber. If you're thinking about a tomb and an antechamber, it's a little different, okay, because there's a lot more things you can find in there. But that's ultimately what the antechamber is. So let's just give you a sort of a rundown of what you would find there. So an art gallery, a room or building for the display or sale of works of art. That's it. It's very simple. So what do we find here? Contains a lot of the things we already had listed before. So you're going to have your wall paintings, statues or sculptures, and any other thing that you consider to be art. Tapestries might be a thing because, you know, tapestries were a big thing. They were certainly an art form. Pottery. Now, I keep forgetting about pottery, but ceramics. Is the word pottery going to be easier for people to understand, or ceramics? Pottery. That really kind of covers all the thing. You may even have clothing. That would really be up to you whether you want to include something like that, but certainly that would be some of the things you would find in that location. Let's just do this. I think we'll just make that a lowercase. Paintings, it can be lowercase. Statues, lowercase. Yeah. Hashtag. So what do you find in a art gallery? Now, I should know the answer to this one because my sister works in an art gallery. I spent enough time in an art gallery, so it's always possible I won't have all the information that I need, but you never know. All right, so we've got that. Now, an armory. What the heck is an armory? Let's deal with this one next. And armory. Define armory. These are the easy ones. Armory. A place where weapons are kept. Yes and no. That's yes and no. It's not quite what we need. An array of resources available for a particular purpose. An armory. What is the full meaning of armory? A place where weapons and other military equipment are stored. Absolutely. Now we're talking. An armory. So let's put this here. Now you'll find a lot of the definitions exclude armor because armor is not quite isn't Armor's not used as much in Modern Warfare. Wearing armor doesn't really help you that much. But they still wear flak jackets. They still have, vests, bulletproof vests that at least stop certain gauges of bullet and stuff like that. But we're dealing with fantasy world, so we're not really dealing with those concerns quite so much. A place where weapons, armor, and other military equipment are stored. That's it. Very easy. Very, very easy. It is not where you normally find a forge for repairing weapons or a workshop or anything like that. It's just a storage room for weaponry and armor. Anything to do with military equipment. Okay, so contains what? Missile. Let's try missile. Weapons. Melee weapons. Different types of armor. Now, I might just plonk this in here. Did I keep up with this? I don't know. Did I keep up with my chat? My phone is always a little bit behind. So hashtag. What do you find in an armory? Okay. Some of the things we can include, particularly if we're dealing with a medieval setting or a fantasy setting, would be you got armor, but you have shields. Don't forget that. Shields. A good thing to consider is anything that will blow up. So explosives. Whether that's a bomb or something else. We do have missile weapons anyway, but we're covering as much as we possibly can. And then of course you might have anything that allows you to see, because even if we weren't dealing with modern warfare and we were dealing with warfare that is more around I guess what's the story? What would be the best way of describing this? Even if we're dealing with a medieval time, something for seeing at distance is going to be pretty important. Poison. That's actually a good point. You might very well have poison. Hello, Pale Rider. How are you doing? Poison. Poison. Okay. Ammunition. And I don't just mean ammunition in terms of bullets and missiles and rockets. I mean ammunition in terms of bolts and arrows and bullets for a slingshot. Non-yay. Did I get your name right? Non-yay. Super security, but magic items expendables for the troops. Flasks of oil. You may store oil there, you may not. Okay. But yes, oil. What's another thing that you would probably have here? So, viewing devices. You would probably have some sort of viewing device, whether it's binoculars or a telescope. Telescope's been around a long time, so you can certainly use a telescope. Even in a medieval time, they had the concept of the telescope, a lens and another lens working together to actually magnify something so you can see something at a distance. So yes, we have a bunch of different things that go into the armory. Okay, that's that done. I need a drink of water. Now the attic. The problem with the attic, I'm going to give you a definition, but I'm not going to tell you what you'd find in an attic, because the attic is where you find everything. Okay? You can find anything under the sun, anything they don't want. So it's very easy to write that thing. Contains everything not currently being used, because that's the nature of it. That is the nature of the attic. But let's give you a definition for the attic, because I said I would. I promised you to give the attic. Hello, Derp. How are you doing? I'm not even going to ask you the question about what you would find in the attic, because there's so many different things. Seasonal decorations, storage, antiques, elephants. You know, who knows? Who knows? You find everything there. The furnace. I don't think you're going to put your furnace in the attic. Not unless you want to ask for trouble. Like, do people put furnaces in attics? I don't know that they do that. Braziers, yeah. Calrell, hello, how are you? Okay, let's actually get a definition for the attic. Attic. Okay, a space or room inside or partly inside the roof of a building. That is it, the attic. So, here we go. A space or room inside or partly inside the roof of a building, often used for storage. So far we have been able to write about a sentence describing what the hell the thing is. It's taken us maybe 2 lines or 3 lines to get the information that we required. And apparently game designers can't do this. Like, you can do this, I can do this, and they can't. What is wrong with them? Anyway, let's go with an audience. Now, actually, I want to skip the audience chamber, but I won't. I really want to skip the audience chamber, but we'll keep going with it. You were still in armory? Oh, were you? Oh, I see. Furnace racks, smelter, braziers. I don't know about that, but I think racks I think you're going to find a lot of racks in an armory. I agree. Absolutely. Racks are going to be probably right at the very front. Racks. A lot of racks. Probably a lot of shelves as well. Shelving's a big thing. When in an armory, you've got to store all that stuff. It's got to go somewhere, right? So yes, absolutely. Let's include that as well. Smelter, braziers, I don't think so. Furnace, I think we're in the wrong place for that. Disgruntled teenagers could go anywhere. Audience chamber. Kneeling, rug, chair. Nice one, Derp. So Derp is a patron. Thank you for being here. We also have, was it anybody else? Nacho Man, also a patron. Thank you for hanging out, Nacho. I always think of the Matrix gearing up scene when it comes to the armory. Yes, I know what you mean. I am quite partial to the Matrix. The first movie, the second movie's all right. The third movie and the fourth movie I refuse to watch. One, because I could not understand what was going on in the trailer. It was too confusing. And then when people explained what was going on, I lost all interest. Yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for not actually giving it a chance. So normally with a movie, I'll go see it before I make my final decision. And with that movie, I didn't. I was like, I am lost. I don't understand at all. I do not want to spoil my experience of the original Matrix, which is, frankly, in my opinion, one of the greatest movies ever made. But that's just me. It's the only movie that shocked me as much as that one did. Black Hawk Down is another one. Holy Toledo! I could never watch that one again. That was something. Okay, here we go. So an audience chamber, a room where a monarch or head of state conducts formal interviews. So that is really what that room is. And then putting stuff into an audience chamber, somebody's already gone through that process for us. So let's do that. So we've got contains. Now, I know for a few of you, you're thinking, throne. We're not dealing with... An audience chamber is not necessarily a throne room. So we will leave that alone. Avery. Oh, guys, a few people jumping ahead. All right, Derp is just let's get it done. Let's get it done, Freddy. You're moving too slow. Grandpa hanging in the corner. Yeah, I suppose no. Yeah, I suppose you could. Skeletons in the closet. Isn't that's a closet though? You find skeletons in the closet, not in the attic. Hopefully not in the attic. Anyway, let's get down the audience chamber. Audience chamber is going to have chairs, probably a fireplace. I would agree. What else do we want to have here? We want to have rugs. Audience chamber. We might have a desk. No, I feel like an audience chamber is more. There might be a table though. Now, what's the other thing? It's a lectern, not a podium, but a lectern. It's lectern. Okay, yeah, I think that's right. Okay, lectern. What else might we have in a location like that? Anybody got any other ideas? Yes, Black Hawk Down is a good movie. I could not. Me and my brothers wanted to vomit after we'd watched that thing. It was a hard watch. It really was. Avery. Yes, we'll get to the Avery. And there's a few people who want to get moving. I'm moving too slow again. All right. I'm going slow. You know fully well why, because I'm not going to go for 2 hours. I'm going to take my time a little bit. Anyway, Avery. Let's get the definition of an Avery down. I think that's right. Avery. Oh, no, that's not it. Avery. Here we go. A large cage, building, or enclosure for keeping birds in. Okay. So that is our definition. So we know what it is. So if you've never heard of the word Avery, we now have it. A large cage, building, or enclosure for keeping birds in. And we need to actually contains what is in a bird cage. Somebody has already noted this down. Derp, you're on fire. Okay, so you've got nets. Yes, sometimes there are nets. You're quite right. Nets, cages. Yes, gloves. Yeah, you probably will have gloves. Gloves are one of those things that you'll need to have for sure. Gloves. What else did you put down here? Birds. You might find a lot of birds in an aviary for sure. Okay, so nets, cages, nests. They'll make nests. Bird feeder. Bird feeders. Elevator music. Where are we getting the elevator music from? Banquet hall. Bacon. Oh, of course you can have bacon in the banquet hall. I see. Ha ha ha. When the PCs find an armory, I always try to approach it as a 80s action movie. Gearing up scene. Yeah, fair enough. It also functions as a courtroom. So many chairs, benches. They might, like a church, they might, an audience chamber may well have here. I think you're probably right. Chairs, benches, bench seats. What else? I think you might even have a desk. Audience desk. Okay. Where am I? Bird feeders. What do you find in an aviary? Let's do a search for that. What do you find in an aviary? Okay. Here we go. So, aviary London. Blah, 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 blah. Yes. Aviary sometimes known as a flight cage. Aviaries contain plants and shrubbery. plants and shrubbery is actually a very good point. I had forgotten. That's very true. The good ones, that is, the good aviaries will have plants in them and shrubbery. Because they like birds, like plants. They got a thing for them, don't they? Plants. I don't know about gargoyles, but yeah, aviary, ink pots, quills. Why would we have an ink pot or quill in an aviary? You've lost me with that one. You would probably have, because birds do a lot of things, so you would probably have a broom. And a shovel. You know why? Bird poo is a problem. Broom, shovel, and probably a bucket. Let's put in a bucket as well. Broom, shovel, and bucket. There we go. Flying snakes. Where were getting the flying snakes from? You guys are gone. You guys are... this is too basic, isn't it, Fred? It's too basic for you. I know, I can see. All right. Next. Perch. Well, we've got... Do we don't have a perch. Enclosures, but you're right. There is usually, in an aviary, you would have a perch of some kind. Perch. Okay. Thinking more of a messenger bird aviary. Oh, I see where you're going with this. I wasn't really thinking in terms of that. If you want to have that sort of thing, we'll let you sort that out in your own games. Okay, next. The banquet hall, because Derp was trying to get us moving onto the banquet hall pretty quickly, and I was holding things up. So, the banquet hall. If we go here, actually I might just copy and paste it. Banquet hall, copy and paste. Get rid of the aviary. Paste. Okay, a banquet hall, function hall, or reception hall is a special purpose room or building used for hosting large social and business events. So that's true, but is that what we're really looking for? A room in a hotel where a large formal meals are held. Okay, all right. So banquet hall. I think the concept is large formal. And this is what we're really looking for here. Let's go put that in there. A large formal room. Large room used for formal meals. A large room used for formal. It's not quite what I wanted. It's not quite a large. A large room used for formal meals. A large room used for to be served and eaten. I think that's pretty much what I wanted. Dungeons and Chronics, hello, how are you? How are you doing? Spy hole, spies on the guess. Yeah, sure. Contains. Okay. So I'm actually going to finish pretty soon. I'm not going to keep going because as I said, I haven't been feeling that well. So there's a couple of different rooms here that I think we probably need to visit and deal with the next time we roll around to this and build out. One would be the carriage house. Barracks, most of you are going to understand what that is. The boiler room, not the buttery. The buttery we've kind of covered in castles, but we'll go into that one. You know what a chapel is. Sistine, we're probably going to go and explain that one. We know what I don't know that does anybody really know what a cloning chamber looks like? Classroom, we know what this is. Conjuring room, you kind of got an idea. Calling room, courtroom, we actually have courtroom. Conservatory, the idea should be obvious. Closet, most of you know what this is. Crevice, we've got a crypt, most of you understand that. A dovecot, we've kind of covered the dovecot in castles, but we'll look at that again. A drawing studio, a dressing room, a dump, you know what that is. An elevator, empty rooms. You don't have to cover that too much to get that figured out. A gallery. Now, a gallery is basically just a display area, so we'll leave that. A game room, gardens, granary. We will put in that. We'll come back to that one. Garderobe. Some of you may remember what the garderobe is from castles, but we'll go into the garderobe in the future. Gymnasium, most of you know what this is. A greenhouse, you'll know what that is. Harem suite, you probably know what that is. Kennel, kiln, laundry room, larder. It should be obvious, but we've done this one before. Map room, meditation, mine, I don't know about that. Morgue, you probably know what that is. Mud room, music room, museum, you'll know what that is. Nursery, livery. This one you may not know what that is, so we'll put that one down. Living room, laboratory, padded room. Reflect. This one you might be a bit of a question mark on, so we'll look in that first. Salon. I think most of you will know what that is, but we'll mark it. Scullery. Scullery's an old concept, so we'll look at that one. Sleeping quarters. Solarum. Again, this is an old concept. Swimming pool, easy. Panic room, you know what that is. Pantry, parlor. Most of you know what a pantry is. Parlor is pretty much the same if you ask me. Pool of water, office, observatory, you know what that is. Cave, sauna, you know what that is. Sewing room. The sewing room, cool, there aren't too many sewing rooms now hanging around, I'll tell you that. Stable, study, forge, tannery. We'll go into that one a little bit more. Tomb, torture chamber, we've covered this so much. Treasure vaults, you know what that is. Theatre, trophy room, very obvious. Throne room, waiting room, war room, wardrobe, you know what that is. Waxworks, a lot of these are probably going to be repeats that will need to be shuffled around. So, and I'm pretty sure I've seen crevice already. So we're going to get rid of crevice there because we had crevice before. Okay, so I didn't do a lot, but I'm pacing myself. Look at it this way, okay? Better to have a little bit well fleshed out than a lot not really very well fleshed out. The whole point of this is that at some point when you need to have everything in one place, it is all there in one place. Like that's really the gist of this, right? Particularly when it comes around dungeons. Now, the next time I talk about dungeons is probably going to be about 2.5 months from now, because I'm going to go on holiday in about a month's time. So you're going to have a big, huge pause before we go back into this topic. I'll tell you now that I don't expect dungeons to not be a topic that we talk about a lot in the future. I suspect it will be an ongoing thing. So you do not need to get worried that we won't return to this topic. I think we will always be returning to dungeons because there is so much to know about dungeons and to understand about dungeons. So yeah, it's not something I'm going to just stop doing. So don't worry about that. So that we'll eventually finish that 100 list. That is the sort of thing, that is the sort of tool that I always expected to find in a Game Master book or a Dungeon Master book, and I never found it nobody's ever done it. Anyway, end this poll. Let's see what we got here. Ending the poll, Pale Rider, I see your list of items. I'm going to transfer them over to my document in a second, okay? Do you include keys in your dungeons? Yes, 44%. of 9 votes. Sometimes 33%. No, 22%. Just watching. 0, 0. Okay, so 0%. So if you ever have the tendency to say, my players don't like puzzles, just put a key to open a lock into your dungeon or your game, and you have just included the simplest type of puzzle you possibly can. It's just a key and lock puzzle. That's it. It's simple. You have the key. You put the key in the lock. You have to find the key. That's all it is. Honestly, it is the simplest type of puzzle. So, yeah, when people say they do not like puzzles in their games, they do not include them, I think your understanding of a puzzle is very narrow. It's actually much broader than that. Anyway, I'm not an expert in the field. I'm going to leave that to Wally DM. Wally DM does a better job of that than I do. In any case, I'm going to finish up early for today because I need to sleep before I go to work. I know it's pathetic. I just need to recoup. Okay, so look, huge thank you to everybody who's been watching and listening today. I do appreciate you being here, particularly since a lot of you were very eager to jump in and plug away at this and do lots and lots of work on it. I just don't have the energy, unfortunately, not with the hay fever. I want to thank you for taking part in the poll today, watching and listening, particularly those people who are willing to take part in the poll, but those people in the chat, like Pale Rider, thank you, Nacho Nachman, Dungeons and Chronics, Fred Huber, Cal Rel, I really do appreciate you being here. And I believe we had Derp, Nonya, I hope I got your name right. I probably haven't, but if you'll let me know if I haven't, okay? I do appreciate you being here and being eager to get started into this. All the best with your holidays. You will see me around again, just keeping my live streams a bit shorter. So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, the night, or the wee early morning, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours, and hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.